to kill the enemy electronically. That's data. That's photographed. You can look at that happen. And I suppose there's a way that we can let you see that. I've seen it. But this electronic generation of a way to kill these viruses that were only giving us cancer and leukemia and tuberculosis and a whole raft of things did not fall within the mindset of the medical community, and certainly did not bode well with the pharmaceutical industry and all of the great billions of dollars it was making and the powers that it had over the society. Is the way it shapes up. The data is there. Is that what we're saying? Or are you just going to let me say that?
That's what you were saying. But
That's
no,
what I was saying.
We'll reiterate that.
I'm a well-known iconoclast.
Right. The facts would tend to point out that obviously the people in the electronic area would not want this to disappear. The pharmaceutical industry, and again, you cannot condemn the entire pharmaceutical industry, but let's just say the people involved in the chemical aspect, this would not be something that would be conducive to the industry that they were building and have built ever since. It would seem logical that they would not like something like this available. Now,
so what do they do? They exercise great influence. Ridicule and put down. Go to the courts, in fact. In fact, they did they not?
Rife was taken to court for the frequency devices. In fact, that was the element that even today has been the stumbling point, the frequency devices. Now, the stress very strongly that those were not very well documented cases. The evidence that was presented did not have anything to do with the efficacy of frequency and really had nothing to do with the original devices that Rife had built.
And tell that to one of those patients who were terminally ill who were walking around that it didn't work.
Isn't
that the bottom line, really?
Yes, that is the bottom line.
Isn't that what we should be interested in as a society? Isn't that what a doctor should be interested in? Isn't that what the owner of a pharmaceutical company should be interested in, that a way has come down the line that will get rid of disease? And if it doesn't happen to be what his company is doing, then go make that device.
Well, let's challenge your listeners. You have a big audience. Let's see if we can pull some pharmaceutical. How about a Pepsi challenge?
Yeah.
How about a...
Well, the listeners are already beginning to line up. Let me give the numbers, if I may, to get in to ask about this. I do have a question now. We have the microscope. We have the data. Do we have the frequencies? Can it be employed again? Or are there laws or things that say we can't use it now on somebody who is terminally ill or ill?
Well, the frequencies are around, and yes, we could duplicate it. I'm sure we'd have to be under clinical studies again.
Well, certainly it needs to be done.
And bringing it out, definitely. That would be the way it'd be tested. Seeing where it would come out today would be very interesting, where the openness is to something new, because still, in fact, it is something quite new. We're getting into devices now that are being used in doctors' offices that are built around frequency, so there's more of an awareness right now that frequency does, in fact, enhance health care and have a positive effect on the body. But it would be very interesting.
Well, if I'm understanding, Laverne, what you're saying that right now the microscope is available, the frequencies are available, the way to generate the frequencies are available, the documentation of the past shows that they produce 100% cure rates so far. Where's UCLA? Where's USC? Where are these people? Where are the great medical facilities of this great community that we live here in Los Angeles? Why aren't they using it? Why aren't they even interested? Why aren't they talking to you?
Where does the research money come from? Who is giving the research grants?
I don't know whether Dow Chemical would invest in this or not, but maybe somebody who is interested in mankind would.
Well, now you're getting much closer to the key, and that is that the area of physics has been kept out of medicine for far too long a period. The whole body, everything that we are, everything that exists is frequency. They determine death by your heartbeat and your brain waves, which are both electrical. Yet all of the treatments, all of the therapies tend to be, again, on the chemical aspect. We would like to comment, too, that when you are immersed in this particular subject and you read the studies and you read the letters that went back and forth, Laverne and I would spend evenings where we would be heartsick because you look at something that exists with the possibility of use. Now, there has to be money that is available so this can be researched properly, because even though it was very successful in the past, it is a part of the mechanism of our society that something be revalidated. But there is absolutely no doubt whatsoever, again, these are all laws of physics, that this would prove once again very, very effective. But we feel in our particular case that there has to be sufficient revenues so good studies can be conducted, and that really is the bottom line right now.
Surely there's somebody up there that wants to cure cancer. Surely there's somebody who wants to get rid of leukemia and multiple sclerosis and all of the rest of it. Mm-hmm. And here seems to be an avenue that, it's non-chemical and non-cutting. How very, very dastardly that may sound to some, but if you have that disease, it sounds pretty good to you. Let me give you the telephone numbers if you want to get in on this conversation, and this may be a good one tonight. In Los Angeles, Steve and Laverne Ross of the World Research Foundation. And before we go to our callers, and they are jammed onto the line tonight, I'll tell you that. They want to talk to you, Steve. Why don't you tell us what Royal Rife himself said?
We have a direct quote, which I thought would be apropos now. Rife explained that the lethal frequencies for the various organisms, as in sound waves, exist in the very organisms themselves. And he felt that disease organisms could be disintegrated the exact way as a vase or glass can be broken when the appropriate sound wave, the resonant frequency, is played. When the ray is directed upon them, the organisms are seen to behave very curiously. Some kinds do literally disintegrate, others writhe as if in agony, and finally gather together in a deathly, unmoving cluster. These, again, are Rife's comments. Brief exposure to the tuned frequencies, Rife commented, brings the fatal reactions. After the organisms have been bombarded, the laboratory reports show they are clinically dead. In fact, after Rife would use his mortal oscillatory rate on cancer, he would take a part of that tumor and put it back into the test rats, and none of them would ever develop cancer, even though he, up to that, would inject 500 consecutive rats with the cancer. Each one would develop cancer. Then when he used the frequency, no rats after that time, no matter how many times they were injected with that particular tumor substance that had been treated, would ever get cancer.
And that's, by the way, a part of that marvelous film. You can see that entire process, how he meticulously went through that testing. Okay, let's go to the folks. Hello, Kay.
Yes, good evening to you, all of you. I was really interested in this. Now, has there ever been, I think you mentioned something that it has been on some patients as terminally ill, is that correct?
Yes, terminally ill patients, and they all made it.
Well, the reason I'm so, interested, my mom is lying very terminally ill from cancer right now in a different stage in the hospital. And she has had chemotherapy. What is that machine that they put them in an iron lung effect? You know what I'm talking about? Is that chemotherapy?
That's cobalt radiation or some other form of radiation.
Yeah, she's been in them things, and she said it's just scary as can be. Machines were so scary for her.
Okay,